Good afternoon, B3L. Coming together with another live trading session. I want to know or hear from you if these are maybe a little too early. I know when we're starting them, they're about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I probably could bump these back on the day to something like, as late as 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Uh, so if that would work better, we could always do that. You know, drop a message or whatnot. Or maybe I'll just try a session uh, next week, or maybe even two sessions next week, and just see what works best. Just so we can get some participation. So that way you're not just listening to me for most of this. Uh, but really some interesting stuff I want to share here today. Um, we I ran into a bit of an interesting challenge is that the data stream that I build off of is through Flipside Crypto. They have moved from a free platform or free slash paid platform to a now mostly paid platform, at least any functionality that I do. And so I wanted to look around for alternate sources to see what is able to be built um, and still keep costs at a minimum. And so I did move over to Dune Analytics. I have used Dune in the past, but a couple years ago, I found the platform a little slow, a little tough to get things done performance-wise. They have upgraded their systems to, I believe, a Snowflake backbone, and it functions quite effectively. Their data is actually even better organized as well than Flipside. And so over the weekend, I was sick, so I was resting. But while resting, I decided to get at it on the laptop and work on some dashboard equivalents to what we have in the Google Docs. So if you have access to the Google Docs, I've worked to build something that I think is probably a an effective tool for myself when I'm doing my NFT market overview, as well as something that I think others can really take advantage of. And so I will be sharing this out here in a bit. But it's some metrics that I look at consistently for the ETH NFT market. And then I've also worked on a couple more things in addition to this. And it all works really well to be able to build things out. So, one of the challenges that we have is where the cost structure is involved here on Dune is that it's the data refreshes. As a normal free user, I'm allowed to schedule 4 queries to update daily. And in doing that, that's most of the queries that is involved in this particular dashboard. Um, but uh, anyone that has a free Dune account can go to a dashboard that they like, and there's many on here that you can search up. But you can click Run, and you have 2,500 credits, and you can go ahead and update the dashboard. It'll take less than a minute, and you'll get the dashboard up to date within the last, say, half hour, which is really good. And in fact, this is showing it's updated 9 hours ago, which is not correct. If I hit refresh on this, I recently updated this half hour ago here. So this is about an hour delayed on the data, but this now is updated using credits. I have two Dune accounts. Don't tell anyone, but I've created a second account so I can go ahead and refresh on demand without burning up the credits on the main account. But yeah, it seems to work really good there. And so this allows me to capture data over a larger range. We can do things like that. Allows me to process more data, and it's a lot more. I think it's more interactive as well, which I think is really cool. It does allow me to produce filters and things like that when I load it in there. But if I add things like filters, I believe it costs refresh credits to reload when you change the filters. So I'm going to leave it as is and try to put it in a way that works well. Open to feedback or ideas and suggestions on it. But you can see the current volume trends across all marketplaces and across ETH. And so you get an idea where we're at for volume. You've probably seen this chart a lot of other places. It's a pretty common chart on Dune as well. So nothing special there. Then I have the buyer to seller ratio. This is the one that I really like as a chart. You can see here the 1.0 line, um, where that is, and then where we've been trending, kind of trending a little bit down here. So a little bit of increased sell pressure across the ETH market there. When it has produced better through um, early December there, that's kind of when the market was performing its best, but still well below where I would like to see it above one. And in fact, I'm gonna jump ahead here a bit, but I also built a version in Solana. Initially, I had the two dashboards all in one, um, but I did separate them out. So if I go in here and you look at Solana, I have a very similar dashboard in Solana that I'm also working on, and that one shows the Solana volume, a little less volume, a little less transactions, etc. But you can see through December, where Solana was exceeding that ratio of one pretty consistently, and has since gone below. But again, here early February, also above one. So just shows that what I would believe it to be a much more bullish sentiment there. I'm not saying that Solana is the end all be all chain. I think there's certainly a lot of opportunity across chains, but there's been more growth in the Solana ecosystem than what we're seeing in Ethereum, which is interesting. Back to the Ethereum dashboard, you can see the buyers sellers by day, and then the ETH sales volume. So volume of sales trending up a bit, but mostly kind of flat there. And then we are able to look into market share by platform. I think this is a little less important until Magic Eden kind of steps in here and takes a look at the pie, but you can see most of the volume in terms of ETH occurring on Blur, but actually most of the daily uh, transactions. I think this is by transaction. I'll have to double check that. I actually don't sort daily buyers is in OpenSea. Again, smaller collections typically there. But interesting to see that that trend's been around for some time. Um, but the majority of people using Blur, that's where we're seeing most of the success and opportunity there. And then daily unique traders, uh, new buyers. This is where you want to see these both trending upward in ideal state. Average each sale. I put this in here kind of just comparison to what we see on Solana. It is probably about just about 10x what we see on an average sale on Solana as comparison on chains. And then I have also added in the blue chip indexes. This is something I don't really see on any other Dune dashboard. I think this is a really nice way to capture what's going on in the market overall. There are some other sites that kind of have their own versions of indexes. I've stuck with these blue chip ones. I have made this index extend longer, so this is I think a 6 month range now on it. So you can see the ETH price in the pale purple, and then in the orange is the US dollar value. So if you hover over any of those points, you can see what that percentage difference is. So as of uh, today, we're up 26% over the last 6 months on ETH terms for blue chip, and about 56% in ETH terms. So performing pretty well. This surge here looks a little bit different across different indexes, which I find a little bit interesting because really the December range is where we've seen a lot of success. But I think this is really pushed on by the movement of punks. I've thought about normalizing this or doing this in a way that punks is equal to any other blue chip collection, but that also makes it a little bit tough because of the way those collections can move and whatnot. So this is the way I've been doing it for some time. Depending on which way you look at it, you can get different perspectives on the indexes, but I think this is a really good way to do it. And so this strength in punks is really what's moved the index overall. And then you can see the floor change over the last 7 days, which I think is a really clean way to look at the market on a weekly basis or a little bit longer time horizon. You can see some pretty big swings on day by day, and that's not necessarily um, a really great way to look at it. Maybe look at the general perspective of, oh, it's a green day versus like a red day overall. projects up, but if you want to kind of see the general strength, look at it on the week. The blue chip overall on the week is mostly up, led by creeps. And you can hover over it and see that percentage change on floor price on any of them. And then down, you see the 30-day. They're lined up based on what the 7-day sort is. I can't change this within the same query, but I think this is kind of a neat perspective. So you can see Doodle's up 4.5% on the week, but also up 22.8% on the month. And I'm going to dig into Doodles a little bit more. I think Doodles is a really interesting collection at the moment, and one that I'm watching closely for some opportunity. And then Pudgies, you can see them up 30% on the month, dead even on the week. Also, another interesting collection overall in the blue chip. Mid cap, same idea, up about 15% over the half year and up 41% in terms of ETH. You can see actually an interesting trend here where ETH formed worse than the mid cap and then outperformed. And that's just kind of what the movement is in ETH. And then same idea. So Killer Bears up 22% on the week. Checks, and this one you kind of have to hover over some of them because it can't show all the names. But you can kind of scroll through here to see the different collections and how they performed. And then here on the monthly, so top performers on the month, we have Corky's up 50%, Kempai up 40%, Crypto Dick Butts up 30%, and Wreck Guy up 25%. And Sproto Gremlins down the most 80%. And then the last little bit, and this one is again something that I've added I think some uniqueness to, and I'll continue to add to this in terms of adding collection metrics. One really nice thing about Dune is that it has reservoir floor price data, which is more comprehensive than what I was able to source through Flipside. So the way I did it in Flipside is the floor was calculated based on kind of a mathematical process, but basically based on history of sales. And now that's your true floor, right? So what are they selling at, with activity, etc. Usually the true floor is about 10% less than listing floor. This one here looks at listing floor. So it is different, but it is the representative floor to what those collections were listed at. So this takes that listing data and applies it in there. So it's going to give you a pretty accurate picture of what the current floor is of a collection, at least based on the refresh time, plus or minus half hour kind of thing. None of this is going to be real time, but it's going to have some additional metrics in there. So your daily floor change, your daily volume. This is a sortable table, so you can sort it overall based on any kind of metric. I've added in the contract address. I think is a nice way to look up collections. You can paste that into OpenSea or Blur, and I'm falling all over the place. It'll take you to the collection, allow you to look it up. Volume's done in USD. I kind of think this is a kind of an interesting way to look at it when you consider volume overall. And it's the same with the NFT market. It's done in USD, and I think uh, it's I think it's more comprehensible when it's done in USD. I've done it in ETH for so long, but I think I like the way USD is in terms of putting things into perspective. So total volume, you can see some of these collections have done over, almost 3 billion. Actually, apes have done over 3 billion. I think the combination of some of the punk collections, there's two. There's wrapped and unwrapped punks. They are close to that as well. Supply owners, these can be done over time, so I will be doing those into a different dashboard with some collection metrics there. And then you can easily search this as well. So you wanted to go in here and you wanted to search, you could go B3L. Actually, sorry, Beast. If I can type. Come on, don't make a liar out of me. I just looked this up yesterday. I am seeing that it is limited to 10,000. I might have to update this because that doesn't show, and I did have these. But say doodles, look it up. So any of the collections, you can quickly type it in and get a picture of where their metrics are at over those time horizons. So that's the main market dashboard. Also working on a collection dashboard. Um, Collection dashboard I started just last night, so it's early stages. This one will require putting in a contract address in the top and then hitting run. So it will use credits. Um, the way we reduce the amount of credits used is by trying to do things all in individual queries. So this shows the last roughly 10,000 transactions on a scatter plot chart. It does do some filtering to remove outliers on this chart. So some of the ones that you see right down at the floor that are outside of the normal range, or transactions well above. So those 101 and Grail sales just kind of keeps the everything kind of condensed a little bit better. But it will also remove some of those sales above floor that are closer in here. So we'll make things look maybe a little cleaner, a little less um, bullish, so to speak, than the way they could be, right? So kind of a note there, and I'll add that into the collection details, and then it shows also WETH versus ETH, and then Blur ETH on here as well. So back in the day, gray being OpenSea ETH, and then WETH across the board, both OpenSea and Blur. And I might change this up a bit as well so you can kind of see the two main platforms and how they go. Another look, this is floor over time. So this is daily floor. So quite similar chart overall to what you see above here. In fact, there's not much different in the terms of overall value, to see a little less on the peaks there. And in volume, although this volume chart, I was looking at it and it looks a little weird. So for instance, this candle here is looking like it represents about 9,000 in volume, but it shows 386. And then this one here says 12,000 in volume, which seems super crazy. So working on that, but I will have collection metrics in there, holder metrics, etc. So a bit more of the detailed bit of metrics for collections, just so you can get an idea to dig through and try to incorporate some of the unique metrics that I like to do. So, something like um, looking at influential buyers, whales, etc., adding those in there to kind of see what activities going on there. I seen an interesting table from another Dune creator that has some metrics in there that I also want to incorporate. So I'm going to be active on building through Dune and then sharing out those dashboards and links. You can also look up to see what I've created so far. Some dashboards are private and so they can't be seen, but others are available to be looked at. So I think it'll be helpful and done in a way that I think makes things really understandable as best as possible. Now into some current markets. I want to open it up to those that are here. If you have any questions on any collections or et cetera, anything like that, feel free to put it in the chat for VC, and I'll go through. But otherwise, I wanted to take a look at Parsec and look at some collections here. The one that this is an interesting one. This is the one that we are looking at last Monday. And this is Doodles. It was right here, right at the end of this triangle. I was looking at a breakup. It did drop down and then broke up. So with these patterns here, you have to watch, and that's what we said on that session, is watch what this candle does. If it moves up, then continuation upward. Otherwise, a breakdown, right? And so that's what's happened here. And it's kind of rocketed up the last couple days here. Now, the question is, are we going to move past the latest high, or are we moving back down? I'm hoping that it goes back down here and then takes up, but I'm not sure. So taking a look at that. Oh, let's pause it up here. Interesting. So you're gonna have to see how this trend plays out a little bit more. I think this range through 2.5 to 2.75 is kind of be pretty interesting for doodles. Um, and I don't think this doesn't show floor depth on Parsec, but we could take a look on something like Blur. And I know Doodles has had a lot of Blur bid dumps going through on it through this cycle. So a lot of unloading in kind of large quantity, and that puts a little bit of pressure on the floor as people kind of capture some NFTs they weren't necessarily looking to buy. But taking a look at floor depth, so about 20 to point or 2.76. Now, you hear this being talked about, um, collections, etc. Only 20 sales to 2 ETH, only 20 sales to 1 ETH, etc. Um, Depending on where that collection is, it doesn't mean that they're actually that close to that mark, right? Is people will list into, especially if sales slow down, they'll list into those marks to try and get at the floor or peg a price as collection moves up. And so you may think, okay, it's only 20, so it's going to get there fast. But as like I said, as sales slow down, people will start listing in there, and you're actually probably say if it's 20, you're probably maybe 30 away or 25 away from that mark, as more people will list into that level. So just keep that in mind. Um, but yeah, Doodles is kind of an interesting spot here. Um, 2.5, 2.6 range. This one shows lower here than it does on Parsec, or it showed like Parsec kind of was showed. What did Parsec show here? A totally different candle, right? So this one went up higher and then dipped down. So just based on the candles, is a little bit different look. Oops. Moonbirds was another one that we were watching. More so watching just based on some interesting patterns that were going on. So a bunch of like interesting sweeps on Moonbirds. This is kind of weird actually. So you see these sales spikes, but the candles never really go anywhere, so it doesn't really sustain any of the activity above it, and then it's right back down to where it was um, prior to that sweep. So again, we're gonna go back into Blur. Yeah, you can see this kind of period of sweeps. The overall floor has remained at this 1.1. So I think I was looking at the dashboard and saw it was at 1.2, and I was like, oh, good, we got that breakout of the channel. Maybe they're finally making that move that kind of looked like they were lagging on, but the general floor, even with the sweeps, has stayed right in that 1.1 range where it's been kind of in for some time here. So it's still in uh, that 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 channel here, and that channel's kind of been up and down through the upper half of it, or you can almost call it the channel's maybe a little bit more narrow. But Moonbirds needs to break above this to really see it do anything successful. Otherwise, I suspect it's going to push downward more. Uh, Pudgy. Pudgy did something very similar to what we saw in Doodles, where hoping for the break up at the end of this triangle. It didn't. It kind of was down and then up a little bit later, and then a bit of a dump into uh, this lower support line that I added. It broke below that, and so now it's in a kind of a hopefully a bit of a range of consolidation uh, for Pudgies, right? So kind of building a little bit of support in that 15 ETH range. And so you're looking at probably a bit of a channel there for Pudgies. Of course, I'm super non-proficient at adding stuff through Parsec, but let me get it. I just lost my drawing tools. Uh-oh. I am clicking everywhere and I shouldn't be. Get back in there. Where did I do? There, markup. Channel. Got awkward channel. Oh, it's jumpy. This is a pretty small channel. Maybe at a bit of risk of a drop below 15 here, but we'll we'll monitor what is going on here with Pudgies. They are in uncharted territory for them, up, just off of all-time high, but still doing pretty well. Um, any other collections that we looked at last week or want to look into? Trying to think what else we really dug into. Curious to take a look at Nobody. Um, Good old weekend mint. Of course, being sick is not ideal for something like that. Hmm. Sorry. So let's change the range on these candles. See what we get for a look. Maybe the 4 hour. a lot of volume on it, so it's tough. There's not a lot of history here, um, but we could look at it. Actually, that first chart wasn't that bad. I could zoom it better. Looks like it's in a bit of a downtrend right now. Magically might be a good way to look at this. Yeah, just there's nobody. Nice run up, right out of gate. This minted quite a bit less. I don't know exactly what that mint price was, but I want to say like that point 0.1 range. Um, but I might be incorrect. It might have been higher than that. All the way up to just about 1 ETH, and now it's been in this kind of downward channel here for a bit. You want to see is it start to break upward around, say, as low as 0.75. Might might hold this point 0.8 actually, and then move on higher. Look to try and break above 1 ETH. This is pre-reveal. Um, I don't know a lot about the collection. Kind of caught pieces of it. I haven't been able to research it yet. I was so busy building on the dashboard there on Dune. But I don't know if anyone here has anything they can add on Nobody. Or if there are any questions in general for what's going on. So I see a couple collections that we talked about at the end of last session. So one of the interesting ones here was Lazy Lions just kind of announced the change of leadership. I think I went and looked at that on possibly Parsec here. Let's take a look. Oops. A lot of these acquisitions or takeovers or change in ownership is a move upward and then a kind of a retracement until any kind of building or any process there. So you can see this candle on the initial kind of announcement news. A pretty solid run up. This is looking almost like a bit of a cup and handle development here. So watch this out through the 12-hour looks good enough here. Oh, same idea, but watch this develop. This could take a move further upward. I'm not sure. Typically, we've seen from past examples of leadership change, etc. It's a quick run up on the news, and then a pull back over time, and then your chance to build, right? So we'll wait and see on this, but pretty positive that they've kind of gone down and recovered on a move upward there. So looking at what could be a possible breakout. Need to develop that handle. If not, it's double top back down, right? So interesting to see what happens with the Lazy Lions here. Um, love I don't know I've always liked Lazy Lions overall as a NFT PFP. And the other one that we talked about was Bitcoin puppets. Um, I wish that ordinals had the same kind of charting ability that we have um, on Soul NFTs on Magic Eden. We don't. But at 0.04 roughly this time last week, sorry about the sneeze. Um, I was looking at the 0.05 mark and where it could go above that. And it did. It achieved that. It moved up. Um, let's see here, actually. Did I get up to 0.7? Sheesh. So they made a move up to, so where were we? Last week, uh, the 30th? So managed to get up above there. Actually, kind of a similar, almost cup and handle pattern on this as well, with the breakout, and then now they kind of since pulled back. Now it's important for them to hold this zero point 0.6 mark and then continue upward. But puppets have had a lot of momentum overall. Been noisy on Twitter, and that is usually or on X. It was usually a pretty good sign. So we also have the full mint of Quantum Cats here today. I assume that went well. I haven't been able to check X, but I believe that was to go down early this morning, and those should be trading here in the near future. I don't think they can trade yet. So we'll be curious to see how those start trading once that full mint has completed. So we'll watch to see how Quantum Cats go. But I think a lot of people were waiting for Quantum Cats to complete, and then we'll start to see how the market kind of flows out from there. Um, yeah. Any any questions or thoughts from there? If not, I am going to uh, export publish the recording. Like I said, we'll probably try and see about adjusting the time here, just to so we're not doing this during regular workday hours here. Maybe a little later in the day to capture more folks. But a lot of fun doing these sessions and keeping them consistent, and also enjoying building on Dune. If there's anything on Dune that you want to see or would like, I can certainly do what I can to build there. A lot of interesting stuff that can be done uh, in the terms of building some unique tools and processes. So open for that. Thank you very much, Improv. Yeah, these sessions are a lot of fun, regardless of who's able to make it or not. And the recordings, I think, are pretty relevant. Usually, we touch on some pretty interesting stuff, so they'll be up there. And yeah, it's good. And looking forward to getting rid of this cold, so we can tack it here this week and carry forward. So yeah, take care. And if there's nothing else question wise, we will stop it maybe a bit early. But like I said, next week, possibly even Friday actually. Fridays are another day that I have availability in the late afternoon. So I know Fridays going into the weekend is kind of a tough time to get people together, but if not, then maybe try 2 sessions on Monday next week to just to open things up and make it more available. But I mean, we got it scheduled in here every Monday at 1 PST, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but we'll try some other times too. So should be good.